An anonymous angel sent me some Stone Coat Art Coat resin to try out. So, let's see how it works for a Petri. Hi everyone, it's Miriam with a Y. If you're into resin art and working with alcohol inks, maybe a little touch of mixed media now and then, make sure to subscribe. This channel is for you. For today's project, I'm going to be working with Kielty alcohol inks as my colors in aqua blue, forest green, and violet. And since we're making a Petri, I'll be using the very necessary PIñATA Blanco, and for a little shimmer, I'll add in some PIñATA Pearl. I ordered myself this commonly used mold. You usually see them in red, but I found it in white and thought that it would be easier on camera to help colors show up. I just cut it up to make it easier to move pieces around because honestly, all the excess was just kind of like flopping around on the edges and it just took up more space than it needed to. And yeah, it was more annoying than anything. So cutting up the 3 parts this way, just a lot more convenient. For today's piece, let's try the Stone Coat Art Coat in this, and let's work a little thick, at least half or 2/3 of this height. For this test with this resin, I'm not going to do anything special to warm the resin in advance. I want to know how it behaves without assistance, if you will. So I'm mixing it at room temperature. Like all resins, when you first start mixing it, it looks almost cloudy or striated before it returns to clear. This resin had bubbles after the mix, but nothing out of the ordinary. My first step in a thicker pour is to pour a little bit. Let it run to the edge and clear that edge of bubbles hugging the corner. To make it easy for me to turn the mold without disturbing it, I'm placing it on a piece of paper. Now, I often use a Lazy Susan, but if you don't have one, or like me, you're too lazy to pull out your Lazy Susan, this quick and easy method works like a charm. After pouring in the rest of the resin and letting it sit for a few minutes or so to degas or release its bubbles, I quickly pass a heat gun to clear the bubbles that have risen to the top. Now I'm starting with aqua blue, and I'll be fairly symmetrical in this. I put down 2 drops of the aqua and then follow it with 1 of white. And then an inner circle of 2 drops of violet, again followed by 1 of white. Let's throw a double layer of green on the periphery and sink that too with some white. Now I'm just filling in the center with more aqua. I'm not so concerned about being perfect with the color drops here. If my goal is real symmetry, I'm always going to be more concerned of where the white lands, because the white is what's going to really create the pattern, if you will. It somewhat locks the colors in place since it doesn't spread and dissolve into the resin the same way as the colors do. Unlike the colors, which are dye-based, the white is pigment-based, so it pretty much sinks where it lands. For a hint of shimmer, because you know I love my shimmer, I'm dropping in some pearl. Okay, I'm dropping in a lot of pearl. It too is a pigment, so it will sink in place. Well, after the alcohol makes it bloom out. I have a little more fun adding color to the center, and then I decide to fill in empty spots on the periphery. Adding this much more white here is a little risky if I don't want any white to crash to the other side. But, you know, no risk, no reward. And also, I left this resin a bit thick, So I'm thinking the white shouldn't make its way all the way down. Now let's have some fun. I'm going to drag through the resin and make a bit of a starburst pattern. I'm going to be careful not to go all the way down to the bottom of the mold so as not to scratch it. Now when you make a Petri, you have to decide if you care how this side, what I call the work side, looks. I often do when it turns out this pretty, so I'm doing a little editing to maybe balance things a bit more. I don't know. All right, I just like to tinker, but I'm kind of trying to neaten it up a little bit. Now what's interesting is if I work on the very top surface and really don't push through, this editing will have virtually no impact on the other side. By now the white has already done its thing and has pushed through and made its pattern, so I am not going to disturb anything by what I'm doing right here. After a quick last check for any boo-boos or bubbles, I'm going to put this to sleep. It has been a good 16, 17 hours, so I'm feeling a little confident that I can pop this out. It's really rare to have such a nice finish on the top. Usually the top can get all crusty and kind of wrinkly because of the inks, but this top is just so beautiful. It's just so really, really slick. Alrighty, let's see how this goes. I'm always nervous when it's a new resin and I don't know how it's going to behave. So I have no idea. Okay, it released easily. That's a good sign. I see some, but not a lot of dropping. I don't know. Okay, so I see that some inks sank, but not a lot. So, all these little pieces that are flaking off. I mean, the sides are pretty, but I would have wanted to see a lot more inks dropping. I can see through, so alrighty, here we go. Well, you know, the back is really, really, really pretty. I love the texture. I really, really do. It looks kind of like a starfish, like a purple starfish. I mean, that is totally what this is. The only thing is that I'm thinking, I feel like I could have gotten this without this much, you know, thickness. But what's cool about the thickness is that it's really giving the depth of, you know, the distance between the top and the actual, what I'm going to call the starfish, is really, because it's so thick, the effect is really neat, and you know, it's a really beautiful finish. The mold was really nice and smooth, so it's really blemish free, so that's really, really nice. Yeah, I don't have a single bubble on the edge, so the rim is really in great shape. So all that makes it really, really cool. I don't even mind the little pieces, the little points where some white hit the back, because it kind of makes it look like the starfish is breathing, or I don't know, like moving in the sand. Ooh, that little spot of green right there is really, really, really cool. Look at that. How neat is that? So yeah, it's really not what I was expecting, but I think it's really quite beautiful. The colors are just awesome. I really am enjoying Kielty ink in resin. I'll be testing other resins, so make sure to subscribe and click the bell so you catch every video. I really liked working with this resin. Bubble release was impressive given that I didn't even warm it. Like my go-to resin, Clearcast 7050, this art coat cured rock hard. It is reported to be heat resistant to over 400 degrees, so for hot drink coasters, this could be a really good option. Thank you again to the anonymous angel who sent this to me to try. As for the inks, I am thoroughly enjoying Kielty alcohol inks in resin. I love the variety of color intensities I can get. I can get really brilliant jewel tones, and I can get sort of softer colors as well. And I love the non-toxic aspect of this brand. That's a huge plus. Tell me in the comments if you'd like to see more Petri art or whatever else you'd like to see. For more exclusive experiments, question answering priority, and more, consider becoming a patron of the channel on Patreon. Thank you for being the best viewers ever. Hugs to you all. May your creative nature shine. See you soon. Bye now.